Does it say we're live? Hey, we're live. Holy crap, I figured it out 25 minutes later. Hey, welcome to my channel, guys. I am Neil, known as 604 Atheist, and I am doing a series. Oh, shit. Oh, look at that. Look at that shit. There we go.
What?
I had it coming through on the actual YouTube page, too. I forgot to shut it up. Shut up, YouTube. All right, so anyways, this is the first in my series called Deconversion Stories, and today we're featuring Frustrated Atheist, but today he's known as Frustrated Goose. Did I just call you a goof?
I am
Sorry
a goofy
about that.
goose.
He's a goofy goose. All right, so I basically what I kind of want to know is how you started. Like, what was the first thing you can remember that made you stop and think and go, wow, you know what? There's not really much to this crap.
Well, the short story of if we go for that would have to be about 4 or 5 years ago. If we're going to play the long game, then it really started back whenever I was very young. I was probably somewhere around a little under 11 years old.
Okay.
So
that's pretty early, actually.
Yeah, and it's because there was all these little tiny cracks that caused me to finally slip, but I always rationalized them away but they always ate away at the back of my mind. So it just depends on if you want to know whenever I decided that I was an atheist, or whenever every little teeny tiny detail.
Hey, man, the more details, the better. I kind of look at it like this: like something triggered it, right? And as we go along, more things strengthen that position. You know what I mean? Like more things, you sort of think to yourself, more things are strengthening that idea that the initial trigger set off. You know what I mean? Like, so give me. It doesn't have to be like a 15-year step-by-step thing, but
well,
tell us about your adventure. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. So, it probably started back whenever I was, like I said, somewhere before I even turned 11. I was raised Southern Baptist, and we went every Sunday and every Wednesday. Well, and it was mainly due to my aunt, because my aunt was very, very religious, and you're talking, we went Sunday best, every every Sunday we went in our Sunday best, and then on Wednesdays we could slack up and wear our blue jeans and t-shirts and whatnot. But
right.
So what happened was, at the time, we had this one particular pastor, and we knew him obviously from the church. But then whenever I was in about third grade, my aunt started homeschooling us.
Oh boy.
And then a bunch of people from the church as well, their children.
Yeah.
And here in Texas, at least, I don't know how it is anywhere else, but back then you had to actually be current on things that you're supposed to know at that time frame. So every year after the school year, we would go up to somewhere around Austin, and we would take this homeschooling test type of thing, and it's to see where we were academically. And and so, I mean, that wasn't like, just we weren't taught like, the young earth creationists do, where they just keep going off of just what the Bible says. We were actually taught actual, stuff. But the only difference is the fact that we actually had actual like Bible studies, and we had all different things like that. So but what ended up happening was, my aunt homeschooled his daughters at the time,
Okay.
and whenever she was homeschooling, so we were we had oh God, I don't remember exactly what happened at the time, but like how it actually went about. But I think he had this sermon where he then came out and said that he was leaving the church,
Wow.
um, that he was going to a different church. He was moving out of the city and everything. And as a kid, I thought that was strange, but I was like, I guess this is just something that happens within churches. And it wasn't too long after that that I come to find out what had happened was he was unfaithful with his wife. He was actually sleeping with the secretary at the church, who was well known because she was someone who killed her husband out of self defense. So this was not
What?
something. Yes, yes, she killed her
Wow.
husband out of self defense, and
What goes on behind church doors, eh?
yeah, and so at the time, I was a kid, I'm thinking, you know, this man would get behind the pulpit and he would tell us how we should be faithful not only to God but to our spouses and all this other stuff, and yet he's running around doing the exact same thing that he's telling us not to do. I was
Of
like,
course.
what kind of hypocrisy of that is that? But of course, as as a faithful believer, you always rationalize everything away. And I
Of
said
course.
that I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? No, he is still, even though he is a man of God, he's still a man, and so men are fallible. So I can brush that under the rug, and that's exactly what I did. Was just brushing under the rug.
Yeah.
Okay, he's just a fallible man. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. You're
uh,
rationalizing it yourself in your own head too, right?
of course. And so, but at the time, it wasn't really too hard of a rationalization because when you've grown up in the church and you've been in the church for so long, you get to the point to where you, even as a kid, you get to the point to where it's like, nah, okay, and so it's like it doesn't waver your faith in the Lord.
Mm.
So so fast forwarded a few years, and my aunt's still homeschooling us, and uh at the time, the Harry Potter movies, the first one just came out,
Wow.
and I was 11 when it came out,
I
and
think I
which
was
made
30.
well, well, the funny thing about that is that it made the wonder of Harry Potter even more fascinating because these are 11-year-old kids who are going to train to be wizards and whatnot and
Right.
learn how
Right.
to harness their magic. And here I am, 11 years old, and it's like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And my sister, my oldest sister, she asked me, she's like, it's a book, right? Because I told her I wanted to go see the movie.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I was not a big reader. I had a couple of books I liked, but I was never a big reader. And so I was like, kind of like, they make movies out of books. And so she's like, I tell you what, if you read the book, I will take you to go see the movie. And I was like,
Deal.
okay, yeah. So I was like, okay.
So I
And then
got the
so
audiobook.
right, no, I actually did get the book, and I was reading it, and the first 10 chapters to me were just so incredibly boring. I actually set it down for like a month or two and didn't read it because I couldn't get into it. And so
It
finally
does start out dull. It does. Yeah.
yes. And so I get into about the 10th chapter, and something changed. I just couldn't put the book down. So I
Yeah.
kept reading and kept
Click.
reading and kept reading. And so at that point in time, I didn't even give a shit about the movie. I just wanted to keep reading. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
by the time that I'm 11, the books have been out for a while. And so I've was able to get my hands on the second and third one. And then I just no, actually it's the second, third, and fourth one. My
Hmm.
dad gave it to me for a birthday gift. And so and at one point in time I was 6, so I kind of just went, and within a week, went through the second and third one, and it just kind of opened up my imagination to a whole. It was like this whole new world just popped up in my head, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is just amazing!" And that's why I really couldn't put the book down, because my imagination was broadening out. And well, like I said, I'm still being homeschooled by my aunt, and I'm bringing the book to school with me because I'm reading it in my spare time as well. You know, anytime I could get to read it, I was reading it. So I had the book on my desk, and my aunt was homeschooling us, and she just so happens to be start talking about witchcraft
Oh,
and how everything about witchcraft is for
it's called
Satan and
wizardry.
how it's
Come
bad,
on.
right? But how everything about witchcraft and everything like that is all for Satan, and that there's no such thing as good magic, and yada yada yada. And and I was like, and she's like, so everybody who, you know, anybody who tries to get invested in the Harry Potter series is bound for hell, type of thing. And so I sat there and I was like, everyone? And she's like, everyone. And in my head, I was thinking, how the hell can something that does something so wonderful as broaden someone's mind to a whole new world, really?
Yeah.
How is that such a horrible, terrible thing? But of course, I rationalized that away and said, "Well, you know, I can be forgiven for this one thing because I'm not practicing magic. I'm just reading the book." So, you know, even though she was saying to me how anything about witchcraft is bad and you go to hell, I was
It's
like, no,
evil.
you know, it's not going to happen to me.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
And so I'm like, it's not going to
it's
happen to me.
not gonna anyway, so
Right. But at the time, I'm like, God's not going to sit there and send me to hell just because I enjoy reading, and that, and pretty much I was focusing on the broadening of my imagination. I was like, He's not going to go send me to hell for my imagination being broadened. And so
Oh, of course not.
then,
He gave you a brain, right? He wants you to
right.
use it. You
And so
think.
he wants you to use it, you know. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this is good. I can still keep my faith and still read my books. And so then we fast forward it a few more years, and I'm sitting outside of my grandfather's house talking with my uncle, and my uh somehow we got on the discussion of the Bible, and he brought up the fact that, you know, that the Bible was written so long ago, so many languages have over time it's been translated so many times,
Like
and he's bringing up
14,000
all
or
these,
something.
right, and so he's bringing up all these different little things that just keep I'm like, this is kind of what, that this doesn't make sense. But then I was like, you know, no, I can definitely be okay with this. That's fine. um Fast forwarded, now I'm in high school, and I'm actually in an actual high school. I'm not being homeschooled anymore. um And I had this one friend of mine who was a really good friend. We sit there and we talked all the time. He was the kid that he would sit there and start a conversation with you.
Mhm.
Let you say something, and you know, he'll carry on the conversation for a little bit, and all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, you got a dollar?" And so it's like, you know, you always think in your head, if this is the fucking thing that you wanted from the beginning, just ask from the fucking beginning. But so
just
good.
before you carry on, you got $5? I don't cheap out on a
No,
buck. I go for 5.
right, right. You got to go for the big bucks. I mean, come on now.
That's
But
a 5 followed by a couple of zeros, you know.
or of course, maybe about like 7 or 8. You know,
Sure.
at the minimum. But
Imagine the deserted island we could buy with that.
right. But
Sorry, carry on.
so I'm talking. You know, I'm always talking to him, And there's been times that he's, sit there and really pushed it on my faith type of thing. And I never asked him what he was,
Right.
but I was almost for sure he was an atheist, but I never asked him because I didn't want to find out, because not having a belief in God was just not anything that I could imagine at the time.
Yeah.
Everyone
Right.
has
Sure.
to believe in some sort of God, even if you believed in a different God than I do. Someone and of course, as a child, as a kid, especially since during school, I paid attention enough to be able to pass the classes, but I never really thought much about them, about the class, because all in my head I kept thinking, what does it matter? Why do I need to learn this stuff? God, if I know that God did all this stuff, there's no need to learn any of it, because
Mm.
none of this is going to help me. I know now that I was incredibly wrong, because now whenever I'm having to do research for videos, it takes me forever to try to sit there and look through each and every single thing and try to grasp what's being said. So but I do my best with it. And but at the time, everything was just like, what's the point? God did
Mm.
it, and
Right.
as soon as I die, I'm going to heaven. So, I mean, what's the point in any of this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It
um,
almost it's like you don't really care about this life because the next one's going to be so much better.
exactly. I mean, as there's been a few people who said it, and and to me, it was definitely true.
Mm.
Um, it may not be true for every Christian or every theist of any type at
Hmm.
all, but it was true for me. That I really saw this life as just the doormat to wipe my feet on, because I'm going to heaven where everything's going to be wonderful in paradise. So what's the point? And so, but anyways, I would talk to this guy, and I never ever asked him what his faith was, or if he even had one. I did know what atheists were, but I was not. It just, like I said, was nothing that could possibly cross my mind at that time.
Right.
So, but overall, he was a good guy. He was very, very kind to people, and even though he would ask for money, he never missed the opportunity to help someone. And
That's very cool.
one day, I'm at the mall with my little sister. This is my senior year, and the mall now, it's not even really open like it used to be, but the mall used to be open at this time, and it had an arcade. And I saw someone I knew from school, so I told my sister I'll be right back. I was gonna go in there and say hi to him. And so he went to go say hi, and he's like, "Hey man, did you hear about Jonathan?" Which was my friend. I was like, "Jonathan who? I know a lot of Jonathans." And he said his last name. I was
Right.
like,
Right.
"Yeah." He's like, "Were y'all friends?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Were you close friends?" And I was like, "I guess so. Why? What happened?" I'm over here thinking
It-
that something like he got arrested or something like that. He's like, "Jonathan was killed yesterday."
Holy shit.
And everything just stopped. I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Wow.
Jonathan was killed yesterday." And so, um, for the people who were going to his visitation and whatnot, we um we were given Monday off to go to the visitation.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but that night, whenever I got back to my mom's house, because I wasn't living with my mom, but I was hanging out over there for a little while. I told my mom, because I'd smoked cigarettes off and on for the past couple years by now, and at that point in time, I didn't give a shit, and I said, "Mom,
Mm.
I don't I don't fucking care about secrecy. I don't care about any of it. I need a cigarette. I need one fucking now." And because I just got done telling her what happened, and so she just hands over her pack, and it didn't really matter because I was weeks away from my 18th birthday. So I
Right.
mean, this was something that I'm gonna end up doing anyway. So she just kind of hand me over hand me over her pack, and I took out a cigarette and I smoked it. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but here we have women. A lot of the older women smoke what's known as Virginia Slims,
Yep, I know them.
and
Yep.
they're yes, and so you know how long those are. So I
Yeah,
smoked two of those.
they're
Yeah, I
hugely
smoked.
long, like from
They're
here to the fridge
120.
in my kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, and so I smoked two of those back to back because it was all surreal,
You know, it's funny.
and I
You say that, and that you turned to that when your friend passed away. And I had quit twice in my life and lost two very close people and went right back to it like it was a crutch.
yeah,
And I had been quit for over a
especially when
year, so I totally get that.
yeah, so I go to the memorial service, and
Hmm.
his girlfriend at the time was somebody who I knew, and that's where I got the actual story of what happened.
Mm.
Apparently, him and her on Friday were walking. I don't know if they were walking to his house or where they were walking to, but they were walking the back roads close by the high school.
Okay.
And she said that the last thing that they were talking about before he died was her grades and how she needed to get them up. And another student, she gets out to her truck to notices that her friends had put a stop sign in the back, in the bed of the
Hmm.
truck. And so she was taking the back roads going to the police station to say, look, my friends pulled a prank on me. Here it is. And as she drove by, she drove right by them, and the sign dang near decapitated him.
Oh, wow.
He was dead before Lifelike got there.
Holy
Um,
cow. It just went right through it.
and yeah, because the edge of the sign was sticking out of the bed, and it was at his neck level. And
Oh,
at the
shit.
speed she must have been going, it sliced right through.
His
And
girlfriend was driving?
no, a different student. A different
Oh, okay,
student was
okay.
driving the truck, and they were walking alongside the road. She, of course, was in the grass. He was on the side of the road, and
Yeah, yeah.
they were walking with traffic instead of against. So they didn't see it, and it went
Wow.
right through. And I
Holy
kept
cow. Sorry to hear
at
that,
that
man.
yeah, at that moment was a real big shake in my faith. I was angry. I was like, he was a good kid. Why on earth would a God do something like that to a good kid?
Right. Because they always say it's all part of his plan, right?
Right. And then of course, I rationalized that away as well and said the same thing. It's all part of his plan. He just needed him to come home sooner.
Hmm.
And so I carried on. I was less faithful in my faith, but I carried on still as a believer. I at this point I know God's real,
Mhm.
and I know that this couldn't possibly be the work of God, but at the same time I knew it was, because it was, everything is according to his plan. So I
So
was
we're
like
told,
this
man.
exactly. And so I was like, okay, I can deal this. I can keep going.
Yeah, you kind of get a little
And
bit comforted too when you think, oh, I'll see him again later, right?
yes, and that was definitely my sentiment is I'll see him again. And so I continued on with life. Fast forwarded a few more years, I've stopped really going to church. I still have a belief, but I've stopped going to church. I've
Mm.
now just been doing my own thing because I work a lot, and I usually worked on Sundays as well. So I just stopped going.
Right.
Fast forward a little bit further, and my grandmother passes, and it was something that we had been expecting it for the past 10 years because she had a stroke,
Hmm.
and the doctors were like, she's not going to live, but she's going to die within the year. Then that year passes, and it's like, we give her 5 years. At about 7 years, we stopped listening to the doctors
Yeah, no kidding.
because it was like, what's the point? You're not getting it right. She's still alive. So, but we knew it. Because she wasn't in the best condition. She wasn't speaking properly because she didn't take to the speech therapy all that well.
Hmm.
Her entire left side of her body was not paralyzed but numb. She couldn't really use it. And so I mean there was all these other contributing factors, and she dies, and I just kind of go through the motions for a little while. And one day I'm laying in bed and I can't go to sleep because I'm just thinking about what the fuck am I doing with my life right now. I'm living with my grandfather at the time.
Hmm.
I'm uh, doing absolutely nothing with my life. So I tell him, my grandfather, the next day, I want to go talk about joining the military. So we went up and we talked to the army guys, and I took a practice ASVAB, and then they took me to go take my ASVAB and whatnot. And by this time, I don't pray. I don't pray over my food anymore like I used to. I don't pray for the
Hmm.
people I used to. I don't do anything. But so I'm guessing at this point in time, you could have classified me more as a deist, even though I didn't know what the fuck a deist was.
Right.
Um,
Sure.
I was just under the impression that there is a higher power at work. And
Yeah.
so I actually get into the army, and I it's time for me to decide on my dog tags what religious preference I want to put on there. And I just put no religious preference because I still believed, but I didn't have that
You didn't subscribe to the dogma anymore.
no, I considered myself a Christian, but I didn't at the same time because I was not a good Christian. Um,
Right.
I went to
Right.
the church services to get out of having to be stuck in the barracks cleaning on Sundays, but and I had a Bible and everything, and I bought an actual Bible, an army Bible. But
Hmm.
I wasn't a good Christian because I didn't, in my eyes, I didn't do what I was
Right.
supposed to.
Well,
And
according
then
to them, what you're supposed to do.
yeah, and then I get with my now ex-wife, who was at the time married, and that's a big no-no in the military. They actually kick you. They used to kick you out for it. Now, what they do is they give you an Article 15, and pretty much you're stuck to the barracks, and you're stuck pretty much working all the time. You like, for instance, you get up with everybody else. You do PT. You do all the other good stuff. You'd go throughout the workday. The workday usually ends somewhere around 5 o'clock in the evening. Well, as soon as that's over, you report to either your company or your battalion building, and you do what's known as extra duty, where you work for longer. So,
Right.
extra duty people would be working until 10 p.m., where they then were having to go right back to the barracks, get sleep, and start the day all over again the next morning. And so, I did not get an Article 15 because it kind of kept within my it first stayed in the shop, and then it went out into the actual platoon.
Hmm.
But then I'm in the process of now getting out, but I'm like, I want to stay because I was it was for PT failure. I running has never been my strong suit. I can sprint, but I can't run long distances. And you have to run 2 miles. And at that point in time, I was having to run 2 miles in about 16 minutes and 36 seconds or less. And so I suck at running. So I was like, I'm going to work at it. Well, I got told by my first sergeant that, or no, by my platoon sergeant that, well, no, before that happened, I had a little powwow with the first sergeant and the company commander where they pretty much tell me what they're doing as far as chapter work goes, which means getting me out. And I said, well, there's another PT test I can take to stay in, right? And then the first sergeant looks at me and says, if you pass your PT test but you fail your weight, we'll get you out for that. So we're gonna get you out for something. And so I was like, but if I get both those under control, I can stay in, right? And he goes, yeah, you can. So I was determined at that point I was going to. Well, a week later, my platoon sergeant says, so first sergeant tells me you've been with a married woman. And at that moment in time, it clicked. The first sergeant knew that I was being with a married woman, which is punishable by UCMJ.
Right.
Which means
How did
that
he find out though?
because everybody who ever saw me with my ex-wife at the time, or well, with my technically
Then
fiance
wife
at the
now.
time,
Okay.
they knew, and they would tell, and then they would tell shit about me that wasn't even true. Oh, I saw Hamilton with that married woman over at this place. It's like I don't even fucking go there. But so word eventually, I guess, got back to the first sergeant. Well, funny story about that is
it's called embellishing the story, by the way.
yes, and funny story
dickheads.
about that. Yes, and funny story about that is first sergeant. Right whenever I was about to get out, the company was about to deploy to where was it? They were going to Kuwait. It wasn't for any kind of it wasn't like any combat zone. It was just they were deploying.
Right.
And so before that, they go to California for what's known as NTC, which is pretty much training to be able to live out there in the desert. So they go to NTC, but before that, he was about to go to a different company, a different base altogether. Well, word came down from higher up that nope, you are going to be staying with us through the deployment. And so he made an actual, address to the entire company. He's like, it is what it is. He's like, I was gonna go to different posts, but they want me to stay for the deployment. It is what it is. And so they go off for training and whatnot. And when they get back, words around the company that the first sergeant was sleeping, who's married, was sleeping with one of his own soldiers.
Oh shit!
And I'm not sure, but the soldier might have been married as well. I don't know. So, what higher ups?
The army, everyone's sleeping with everyone.
Yes, and so, so what is told is, hey, guess what? We're just gonna move you over there. And this is where you get the phrase, with rank comes privilege. Because the higher up you get, the more privilege.
More people you can sleep with?
No, well, it means that you don't get in trouble for the things that everyday soldiers get in trouble with. For instance, we had a command sergeant major. We had a command sergeant major who was what was he? He got caught. See, DUIs at this point in time, you got Article 15s.
Yeah.
You got rank taken away, and if you had enough, you got kicked out. This command sergeant major not only had one, not two, but like 3 or 4 DUIs. And instead of, kicking him out or having him go through counseling or even just an Article 15, they said, we're just going to move you to a different post. And it's like, wow. Why? So he can endanger somebody else's life in a different place?
Yeah, no kidding.
But someone like I said, someone like me, I would have gotten kicked out for that many DUIs. So,
Yeah, for sure, because you weren't at his level, man.
Of course. And so that's where you get the term "with rank comes privilege." So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, back to the topic at hand. When I was with my ex-wife, she told me all these different stories of her past relationships, of course, and one of
As
them
they
happened to
tend to
be
do.
that yes, and one of them happened to be about this man who used to beat her. Like, this is without
Lovely.
mercy. Um, and then she started talking about her ex-husband, who, let's say, without going into great detail, he was doing sexual acts with her daughter, who at the youngest age was 5.
Oh my God, are you
And
kidding me?
it was happening for apparently for at least a year. So when she was 6, this is when everything started coming to light. And she was in the middle of wanting to get a divorce, and she was going through a certain church at the time, and the church looked down upon her with disgrace for wanting to get a divorce. It was like, this man was molesting her child. You really expect her to stay with him after that?
Well, yeah, you know how the church can be with sex with kids, right?
Oh, of course. Of course. And so it was like, I can't believe this. Like seriously. And this was another good crack in this faith armor of mine. Well, at this point in time, I had a complete misunderstanding what agnostic was, and was classifying myself as an agnostic because under my understanding at the time of what somebody told me, was that an agnostic was someone who believes in a higher power but is not sure what it was. And I was like, oh, okay, then I'm
Right.
agnostic.
Yeah.
But of course, because I'm still in the Christian mindset where whenever you're deconverting, where you cling to the first thing that people say, and that you don't actually employ skepticism at it.
Yeah. Yeah. That
You
generally
just take it
comes a
for
little
what,
later. Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm like, okay, then I'm agnostic. Well, I was living in Alabama for a while, and I moved back to Texas after me and my ex-wife had gotten into a huge fight, and she left, and she moved back to
Oh, wow.
Texas.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I was stuck in Alabama for a month before my mom actually my mom and my dad, or no, it was either my mom and my dad or just my mom, bought me a bus ticket. And all I kept thinking was, well, if I was going to travel that way, because the original plan was they were going to come together and come get me. And so then it went to, she's just going to come and get me. And then went to, oh, hey, we got you a bus ticket. It's like, if that was the case, I would have just rented a U-Haul pickup truck and came.
Yeah, no
Fuck
kidding.
sitting in that bus.
Yeah, sell those
So,
other smelly bastards.
right? And so I get back home, and I finally meet my one of my, I have 3 sisters.
Me too.
My I have the oldest one who's 10 years older than I am.
Oh,
The
geez.
next one who is 2 years older than I am. And then my younger sister, who's the youngest, period, who's 2 years younger than I am. And
Mm,
my sister, who's only 2 years older than I am, had a husband that I met for the first time whenever I got back.
right.
Um, no. I met him once before. My bad. I met him because I came back with my ex-wife and her kids. We went because my grandfather was in the hospital, and I went to visit him. And the year that I moved back was the same year that said grandfather had passed away.
Right.
So, God, this was like 3-4 years ago. And so I actually got to talk to him. quite often now. And this is whenever I figured out that he was an atheist. And
Your grandfather.
he told me about no, my sister's husband.
Oh, I see.
He was an
Okay,
atheist.
okay.
This was,
Sorry, I got confused there for a
yeah,
second.
I know that was a bit confusing for a second. No, my because this was the second time I've actually gotten to be around him. He was telling me how he was an atheist, and at the time, still with the somewhat Christian mindset, it's I'm having mixed feelings because he's not all that bad of a person,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
and he was a great guy. He's a really good guy, and he had no
That
faith in
didn't
anything.
compute, right?
That didn't compute, because
Mhm.
you're always taught, atheists are just, bad people.
Yeah.
It wasn't really stressed in my church, but like I said, the way my church worked was they never said anything like gays are horrible human beings. They're all going to hell, down with the gays, God's hate fags type of people. No, they
Right.
would say love
They
your gay
weren't. They're
friends
not
and family members.
Westboro.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah.
weren't like Westboro, but they were like love your gay family and friends. But
Just not too
ultimately
much.
know that they well no, it was you can love them, to the moon and back. But ultimately no, they are going to hell.
Ah.
And so it was one of those, where they were not saying they're bad people, they're great people, but ultimately no, they're going to hell. And
I
so it
see.
was like you
I,
almost
I
had
find that
a go ahead.
I find that mindset utterly preposterous. Like you're literally, oh, you're a really nice person, but and you're going to hell. And the way they say it, it's almost as if they're perfectly okay with that.
Right. And
It's like
so
threatening or something.
yeah, and it's more of a motivation for you to get active in trying to convert them away from, being homosexuals or from being atheists or for believing whatever they're
Because yeah,
believing
you could do that.
because if you don't, then they're the type of this was the type of people that's like it's like if you don't help these people. I'm not saying that you're that it's all on your hands, but it kind of is type of thing, and this is how it was.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
your
I can't tell
duty,
you
isn't
how
it?
many times. Of course, it
Yeah.
is your duty to preach to them the love of Jesus. It is your duty. You have to do this, and as a kid who has always constantly been thinking, I'm always trapped in my head, especially whenever I was younger.
Mhm.
Um, I
Yeah, I
so
hear that, man.
as a kid, this is a lot of shit to put on a child,
Of course. Yeah.
and so I would constantly be lying in bed crying because I mean, well, at the time. I recognize it now as an adult, but at the time I didn't know that I had depression. But at the same time, I was also thinking about things like because my mother, she wasn't really a big churchgoer. She was not a she did go to church with us, but the rest of her life she wasn't living a morally Christian life. And so
Right.
all I kept thinking was being at the pearly gates with my mother next to me. I don't know why my mother was next to me, but she was next to me, and
Maybe she
just
met you
watching
there
her,
when you passed.
I guess, and just watching her plummet to hell because of her lifestyle really fucks you up as a kid.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, I
that's
can
all I
imagine
kept
for
thinking
sure.
about. And so as a kid, I would cry. I would cry myself to sleep because, well, for starters, the depression.
Mhm.
And on top of that, thinking about my mother when I'm going to heaven and watching her plummet to hell was something that was fucked up to think about as a kid.
Yeah.
And
Oh fuck yeah.
so all this stuff makes you really want them to want you to push the love of Jesus on everyone. And for a while I did, and then as time grew up, as time got older, I only did it to people who would actually talk to me about religion and all this stuff. And then it got to the point to where I just stopped it altogether because I was like, what's the point? No one's listening. And so
Yeah. Right.
no one sees it the way I'm seeing it, type of thing. And so then, like I said, I'm talking to my brother-in-law who is an atheist, and he starts telling me his deconversion story. And he said that whenever he realized that he was an atheist, it was like a big load just was uplifted off of him. And he was just, it just made him feel better. And so I really listened to that, and I took it to heart. And I didn't at all at first think of it, think of that I was an atheist. I'm still under this fucked up thing that I thought was agnosticism, but it wasn't.
Right.
And so I'm over here thinking about this, and as time goes on, I sit there and really think about the Bible, and I'm thinking about everything that I see in the world. And I mean, you're talking about this guy who knew that dinosaur fossils were millions upon millions of years old, but somehow was also under the impression that humans were still alive during the dinosaurs. So this was literally the way I thought. I don't know why, but this is the way I thought.
I blame it on the
Humans
Flintstones.
were alive with, yeah, like Flintstones type of stuff. And
Yeah.
so I'm rationalizing this in a way to where somehow it works for me. And so I knew that it didn't actually compute. But this is how it worked in my brain, was that
Right.
fossil dinosaurs were millions of years old, but we were still alive with them. And so you're talking to someone that it's going to take me a minute to actually try to compute this type of stuff. So I'm thinking about it, and I start thinking about the science, and I start thinking about the I start actually looking at the Bible and thinking about the stories in them and thinking about all these different things. And I'm like, all this stuff to me was taught as actual fact.
Yeah.
All this stuff was historical. All this stuff was common knowledge to everyone.
Yeah. I
And
thought so too.
and I also had at this point in time recently found out that the Moses story, if it happened at all, did not happen the way the Bible said. As far as the Exodus,
Yeah. Yeah.
that Moses himself was not an actual person. That
Yeah.
there was some backing behind the claim that Jesus may have not have been a real person. That there was backing behind a lot of these stories that I once held were true for being, and now there's evidence that we have that it's not. And I started thinking about it, and I was
Yeah.
like, I think I'm an atheist.
Well,
And
good for you.
once that really sunk in, and I was like, I'm an atheist. The same thing happened. Was like an entire burden lifted off of me. It was like,
Yeah. It's weird how that happens,
yes,
right?
and you would think that it would put an even bigger burden, because you go from knowing that once you die you're going to heaven, or that there is an
Not
afterlife, to now
not
there's nothing.
knowing, but
Yeah.
thinking you know.
Yeah, and now you are at this point where you know that there's nothing after this life, that you die, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you would
At
think
least
that
nothing that we've detected, anyways.
yes, and so you would think that would make you even more terrified.
Yeah, but
And
it's
even
it's
more-
it's the opposite.
Yeah, and it was amazing, and at the same time, it was just awe-inspiring. I looked at the world just a little bit differently. I looked at everything just a tad bit differently than I had before, and I actually started being okay with with the things that had happened in the past, because I know now that all the fucked up shit that had happened was just life. It just was something that just occurred.
Yep.
It was no longer an act of God. It was no longer God working in mysterious ways. It was no ultimate being that had control over everything was letting this stuff happen. It was just shit that happened.
Well,
And
you gotta also think, like, he's apparently all knowing, like omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, etc. And he
right.
would have already known that your buddy that got decapitated was going to get decapitated. Yet he let it happen anyways.
Yes.
So
And
he's a dick just for that.
yeah. And so now that I've reached this moment of clarity that I'm an atheist and that all this stuff just happens, it's just random events that happened in this fucked up thing that's called life. It was just
Life comes with
relieving.
danger.
Yeah. And so everything was just relieving. And I started actually looking at science, and I hadn't started doing the skepticism thing. So I did get caught up in the zeitgeist movement.
Oh, good
And
Lord.
yes.
And
And so it
Thrive.
wasn't do what?
Thrive. You ever hear the
Thrive?
Thrive movement? Yeah.
No, I did not hear that at all.
Look that one up. It's just as weird.
I will have to. But so I'm over here thinking that all this stuff is real. And it wasn't until I was in an atheist group on Facebook where where I posted something about the Zeitgeist movie. And
Mhm.
the very first guy, he's like, "Oh no, no." It was like, like that it's like that if he was a female, it'd been like, "Sweetie, no, just stop it." Type of no. And I was like, "Why?" I was like, and people were actually laughing at me, and I'm like, "What the fuck are they laughing at?" And so finally someone broke it to me, and they said Zeitgeist movies claims are not factual whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, just take the horse story." He goes, "Look up
Yeah.
Horus."
Yeah.
And so I did. I looked up Horus, and I read the Wikipedia thing about Horus, and
Right.
I was like,
I know. I bought it
"This,
at first too.
yeah,
So
yeah." And so I was
I
like,
was like,
this
yeah,
is
that makes
nothing."
sense.
Yeah. And so I'm like, this is nothing like the Jesus story. This is nothing like what they said in the movie. And so
That's
I'm
true.
like, think, okay, well, it's Wikipedia, maybe it's got some things wrong. So I'm looking through other sources, and I'm only finding stuff that's aligning with the Wikipedia article. Nothing of what aligned with the movie.
Of course.
And then I come across, so I typed in Zeitgeist debunked and came across a YouTube video that
Yep.
told me everything that was wrong with the Zeitgeist movie. And they said, we're not even going with the second half because the second half is nothing but conspiracy theory
Yep.
bullshit.
Yeah.
He's like, we're
Yeah.
going to go with the biblical killings. And this is a guy who was also an atheist. And so I'm like,
Right.
okay, well, let me listen to him. And he was saying that he goes, and he goes through all this list of people. And then I think I actually came across a Richard Carrier video where he said that this the Zeitgeist movie has definitely made a lot of traction with the mythicism of Jesus and whatnot. And he goes, but their claims are full of shit. He goes, now, are there other characters throughout mythologies that do have certain aspects of their lives that align with Jesus? Yes, there are.
Yeah. There's a
But there
few.
are
Yeah.
very few. He's like, there's very few. There's nowhere
It's
near.
like maybe a handful or something.
Yeah. And it's like, there's
But
nowhere near.
each of them have different parts of their story that kind of align. It's almost like they bastardized from about half a dozen of them to form
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes. And so he was like, there was very few. He's like, and there's nowhere near the amount that Zeitgeist has it, or nearly as
No.
spot on as Zeitgeist has it. And
Yeah.
so I was like,
Exactly.
holy shit. And then I actually looked up Richard Carrier and found out that he actually, works in this type of field. And I'm like, holy shit. I was like, and at that point in time, I was like, I will not let any claim I ever hear ever go unchecked. And it didn't have to be biblical claims. It could be any claim. It could be like, oh, did you know that this happened? Okay, well, let's get on Google real quick.
Well, anything that sounds, extraordinary to any degree, always double check it.
Always. And so it wasn't until after that, and this was probably about a year after I had became an atheist, that I've actually started using skepticism. And so I would then, if anybody said something that I didn't know, I would say, give me a second. And then I would look it up.
I'll be right back.
like for instance, I actually did that today. Where what I did was on Twitter, there's this group that's called like History Lovers Club, and they posted this picture with a bunch of like baby doll heads, and these two children looking at the heads, and it says Mormon children picking out what their faces are going to be in the next life, in a year. And some people kept saying this can't be real. Other people were like, this isn't real, and you know this. And so I said, fuck this. And I saved the picture.
Was there a Darth Vader option?
Right? Because so I definitely want that option. But
right.
But so I saved the picture, and I got on Google and typed in reverse image search, and I put the picture in, and it pulls up all these little things where it was like 25 creepiest photos of old baby doll factories. And so I screenshotted that and I posted on there, and I was like, fix your error. This has nothing to do with Mormonism.
Yeah, straighten out that fucking lucky underwear and go eat off one of your golden plates.
Right. And so it was just, I've really gotten to the point where I look at things and I'm like, now, if it's something that seems right, then, and especially if they're really forthcoming about it, like they say, well, this could, these are the critics of this, but this is what this one side says, and this is what the critics of that says, then I usually take it for what it says, because if you were to push something, you're not going to tell people what the critics are going to say. You're going to push this as if this is fact. And so whenever I see critics where they say the critics of this particular claim say this, I'm like, okay, I can pretty much take this to being that these are the facts of whatever they found. And that this is what one side says, this is what the other side says. So this is a little bit more trustworthy. But
there is a website you can go to that gives you the differences, the scale of media bias, right? And it'll point out the ones that are actually more central and probably more reliable than the extreme of either side, right? So there is a website for that.
What site is that?
I can't remember off the top of my head. When I edit this video for being on, I think it is mediabias.com. Let me double check here. It's something like that. So carry on with your story while I'm looking this up too.
Okay. But yeah, so that's pretty much what happened today. And I always, ever since then, like I said, I've always fact checked everything. I've looked up claims. I've looked up, and whenever they sit there and actually post something that is substantial, I always go and look for the critics.
It is called mediabiasfactcheck.com. All one word.
Mediabiasfactcheck.com. I'll definitely have to start using that.
And there's a section on Rational Wiki that also has media bias and fact check. So there's a couple of sources for you to check out. If somebody says, "Oh yeah, well I saw it on this news site," well then you can go check and see if it's a reliable source.
Yeah, I will definitely have to look at that. And it's funny because every time though, one of my favorite things to do is look at Snoops. Whenever it's for like celebrity deaths, like whenever they say have these, so and so died at age of this at their home or at their what is it their a hotel room. I'm like, this seems suspiciously fake because I haven't seen it on any actual news. So I would type in. I would go to Google and I'd type in, so and so's death, Snoops, and it'll pull up. Usually 9 times out of 10, we'll put up an article saying, "Yeah, this is fake shit." And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me just post this real quick, and there we go. And I'm a very big fan of listening to conspiracy theories. I don't believe a single one of them, but I'm a very big fan in listening to them because these stories that people come up with are amazingly fantastic, and I'm just like, this is such a great work of fiction. Like today,
Right?
I was listening. Like today, I was listening to a supposed 911 call of a time traveling man.
Oh, you know what? That's like old. That's really old, eh?
Well, no. This one's from a group that is actually pretty. They have quite a few subscribers, and it's called Apex TV.
Oh,
This
okay. Then
happened.
it's
This was
not the
put
one I'm
out.
thinking of.
Probably not. This one was put out June. I want to say 8th of this year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
what this was a woman who dialed 911 because she believed someone was breaking into her house. And you can
That's
tell almost
good plan.
immediately. You can tell almost immediately that this was fake because the guy was like, 911, what's your emergency? And he was so cheerful. And he was quite loud for a 911 operator. And
Right.
911 operators usually are in a room that has multiple people. So they're
Yes.
usually very quiet so that way other operators can hear their callers. And they're quick. They're 911, what's your emergency? And
Mm.
it's like, yeah, and then she was like, all of a sudden you hear the woman, she's like, yes, I think someone's breaking into my house. I'm like,
You think?
okay, for starters, women, anybody who thinks someone's breaking into their house, A, are not going to be that loud. They're going to be in hushed voices. And B, are
Yeah.
not that calm and collective.
Nope.
And so, anyways, once you get to the actual thing, she says that he broke into her. She believes that the guy broke into through the window of her bathroom downstairs, and she was upstairs in her bedroom. And every time she's like, maybe I can just go peek, and the 911 operator is saying, no, don't do that. Stay in your room. She's like, but I can just go peek. Maybe it was this. No, stay in your room. And so she does it anyways, of course. Otherwise, you won't have a story.
Right.
But she does it anyway, and he's talking to people and saying in the background, saying, "No, she's not listening to me." Um, so apparently, according to if you were to actually think this was real, the person was probably talking to like a supervisor of some sort. But anyways, she sits there and she was like, "Maybe it was just my cat," and she's like calling the cat, and he was like, "Ma'am, if there's someone in the house, you need to be quiet." And she's like, still calling the cat loud as can be. And then she opens the bathroom door because the light's not on. Nothing's happening. Well, when she walks in, the mirror's broken, but the window's fine.
Yeah.
And so she's looking, and she's like, and then all of a sudden you hear her, "Oh my God, no, no!" And it's like, "What's wrong?" And she's crying, and it's like, "You need to tell me what's going on." She's like, "There's a man in my bathtub," and she's already told the operator that she lives alone with her cat.
And he's got
And
champagne
well, no. There's a
and
man in her bathtub.
candles.
He's
Okay.
naked, and
They
he's
usually.
bleeding from the ears.
Whoa.
He's unconscious. And then she's like, "Oh my God, it's my husband." And he's like, "Wait, I'm sorry, what? He's your husband?" And she's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Didn't you say you lived alone?" And she was like, "My husband's been dead for, I think she said like 2004." And so he's like, but it's not him. And the operator's like, what do you mean it's not him? It's like, it's not, it's like, it's my husband, but it's not him. He's younger.
What?
And so then, yeah. And so she's like, you can hear, somehow you can hear the police knocking on the door saying them by their, because they bleep out the city name. And they say,
Mhm.
beep, police, open up. And they eventually get in. And then you hear him, they hear the police coming in. And they're like, "Man, we need you to get out. Who is this man?" And then all of a sudden, they're talking. And then he says, I think it was 10:23. And then it's like, "We got it, click." And
Mhm.
so I looked up 10:23 real quick before I said anything, and it just means arrived. I didn't know that because I don't know the cop codes. But
It's a false alarm or something, isn't it?
no, 10:23 just means that they've arrived on scene.
Right.
Yeah. And so so I sit there and I take this. I actually commented, but I'm not going to tell you which video this is because I commented on my actual YouTube YouTube channel, which has my name on there.
Right.
But I made this long post where I went at this from a very logical perspective, and I say, I was looking at the comments, and people are sometimes so fucking retarded. But then I stop and think, I'm like, not
Welcome to
everybody,
YouTube.
yeah, and I'm like, not everybody has the common sense or critical thinking skills
Right.
as other people do. So I said, for a couple of, to answer a couple of questions, because one of the questions that was asked several times was, "I thought she lived alone. How is that her husband?" And so I was like, okay. I was like, to answer a couple questions, here's this. And I explained to them how that within the storyline, that is logically sound. And that she does live alone, and that is her husband. So then I had to bust down what was actually wrong with the video, where I then pointed out the caller, the actual operator, the call itself, and then I sat there and was like, "We're gonna play a thought experiment here, and let's just say that time travel is possible. Let's just say it is." I was like, "It's
Okay.
not, but let's
Well,
just say
not
it is."
not that we know
And
of. I mean, you think we'd see tourists everywhere from the future.
right, and because they're from the future, they would definitely be douchey about it. Because what the fuck are you gonna do? All they got,
primitives, honey.
yeah. And then if someone tries to call the government and the government tries to take you, all you have to do is quickly time travel back. But anyways, and on there I said that as of right now, I was like, time travel is impossible as of right now.
Yeah.
And then I also after I explain the time travel bit, I do also say, if you want to know how it could be possible, just go ahead and leave a comment, because there's a couple things that you can actually go off of, that if you could actually apply them on Earth, it is possible that it is possible that it could happen. Not saying that it would, but it could if we had the right technology to do it. But I was like, if you want to know how this could be possible, then just go ahead and leave a comment. But so I was like, let's just run with this thought experiment and say that time travel is possible. I
guess it depends on, I think, whose theory you're going by, because some people, like some of the theoretical physicists think that you wouldn't be able to go to the future. You'd only be able to go backwards. But then there's theoretical physicists that believe that everything is already happening and we're just experiencing it all on a linear time frame. And you could go to the future, right?
And that's one of the things that I go off of is I sit there and it's like, all right, I was like, so every point in time is another point in time's past. And since I had already written a lot on this, I was like, by the time that you've reached this point in my comment, the beginning of the comment has already happened in your past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
Nope.
And
you always live in the exact moment.
Yes. And so I said that that you can't, that if time travel were possible, you know, he can because this is a man who is young or younger than her husband was. So I'm going to roughly say that he was probably younger as in like before they met, which at part of it, the only reason why she knows that this is her husband is because of this tattoo that is on in the exact same spot that was her
she's
husband,
probably seen pictures of him in his youth too.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that at the youngest this time traveler can be is 18, since in our time frame right now, 18 is the age that you can legally get a tattoo. You can always get one in prison or from friends, but I doubt that this is one that's like that. So we're just going off the premise that this is a man who is at least 18. So
yeah, 18 or older. Yeah.
Yes. So he's traveled now to her present, which is his future. And they even apparently, Apex TV did an interview with this couple. And I keep going on and I tell them that he cannot stay so long in this time frame because or he cannot stay very long in he can't live the rest of his life out in this time frame because his death has already occurred and it happened in the past. So I was like, he can only stay for so long to keep the timeline consistent. So at the max,
the second he comes to this time with her, the timeline's already fucked.
Yes. So if you're to try to do the minimum amount of damage, you need to be at least at the same age. So he could, at the max, stay maybe not even a year, because that even just a year, when it's getting close to a year, can really fuck up the timeline if he went back in time. So he can stay the max, maybe I'd give it like at the max a week before having to go back to his time frame, his timeline. And the fact that that he is here at this point in time,
I don't know, man. I think
out this.
If you go back to right when you left, you're not missed in the past.
But if you stay for a long period of time, you are now at the time when you were supposed to be 18, but you're now 35. That can have dire consequences in the actual timeline of our reality. And you could probably seriously fuck up shit.
How the hell did we get onto time travel anyways?
Because of conspiracy theories.
Oh, right. We're talking about the zeitgeist and all that shit.
Yes.
Right.
And then we moved on to conspiracy theories because I love them.
Well, I'll tell you what.
The
deconversion story has already happened. So what we can do now, if you'd like, if you have time, because I thought today you had to fuck off somewhere around 7 your time. So, and that's coming up pretty quick, actually. No, it's almost 8 there.
No, it's almost 7 here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're it's like 6:42.
Yeah, it's 4:42 here for me. So, can you stick around, or do you have to take off?
Oh yeah, I can stick around.
Okay, so why don't we actually invite a couple more people in here to get in on this exciting conversation?
Of course, go ahead.
We could do that, right?
We can do that. This is physically possible.
Oh, someone says Triax 666 says sounds like the bloke doesn't understand temporal mechanics. Well, you know what? Temporal mechanics, I think, rely on whose version of it you're talking about, because time travel really isn't a thing. So it's all hearsay, really, of how temporal mechanics would work, right? So there's theories and hypotheses, but until we actually have time travel as an actual thing, all we're doing is guessing, really.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm gonna do here is see if I can send out, like, I don't know who would like to join us. I don't know who's still watching.
Right.
Let me find out if anyone wants to join.
Oh, he says just having a LOL.
Oh, I see. That's perfectly okay. Actually, I recognize the name now. I think I follow him, and he follows me on Twitter. So, yeah. All right. Let's see if we can have a few people for a little bit longer here. I don't know if anyone's seen my message yet. I know Artemis was in there for a while. Secular was in there for a while. Nadine was in there for a while.
Yeah, they were in here for a while. I don't know if they still are. I don't even know who.
Shane is in here. Shane was here. Shane liked the opening. Oh shit!
Oh, hey, look, there's Molly.
Holy Mole!
He just joined.
Oh,
He may
okay.
want to join in on the conversation.
Let's
he said
see.
send me a link if you want to.
All right. Give me a quick second here, Mr. Moley Mole. Let me go back to the rest of the internet here. I got to give him the correct link, though. So.
Yes, that does tend to help.
Yes, it does. Yes. I'm gonna send him to some other people's hangout, and they're like, "Hey, who the fuck are you?"
Or he just goes into an empty hangout and is like, does this mean they don't really want me to join? What's going on here?
Wait, they sent me to the wrong place.
Right. And then the guy who was having the LOL said, I would, but unfortunately it's late here. So he's not going to be joining.
Who?
Triax 666.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. If it's late, it's late.
All right, I found him, and I'll send him a message.
What, Molly?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like Molly. He's great.
Really?
Come on. All right, there we go.
But he missed all of the actual deconversion.
That's okay. He can watch it later.
Yeah.
All right, I sent him the link. Entirely up to him now. I have no control over what the mole does.
Right. He may come, he may not. We will find out sooner or later.
I'll just answer tracks here.
Yes. But it's all very interesting, and I do have a theory on how, well, not a theory, a hypothesis on how time travel could be possible, but we would have to have knowledge and the skill set to be able to harness it. But if we could, then it would be possible.
Mm-hmm. There's Mo.
Hey, Molly.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, man?
Not a lot. Oh.
Well, welcome to my first actual stream that I did all by myself.
Awesome.
All by
Proud of you.
My mommy would be proud.
I was just streaming with the Geek Room. They had a stream going on. So.
Yeah, that's right. I heard they did the roast thing.
Well, thank you.
Did you? Were you in it or what?
Well, hold on a second. Yeah, I was streaming with them.
No, but
Okay.
you weren't part of the roast.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't part of the roast. No. I guess who was they said that won? Nacha
Nacha.
beat Mr. Atheist. Who
No,
else was it?
Nacha beat Godless Engineer.
Oh, that's right. And
Secular wants to join, but his hotspot's too slow.
and Paul beat.
Well, Secular, we don't give a shit. Just get in here.
Carry on, Mole. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just they invited me in, so I
So
figured
why
if
not?
I could join.
Yeah, hell yeah. Are they all still in there, or do you think
No,
some of them might come join here?
They're getting ready to quit. I think non secular is having a stream, which isn't that unusual. They have one every night. So
Yeah, I know.
Almost, yeah. What's the what was the topic for tonight's stream?
I couldn't tell you. Are you the geek room or for the non secular
No,
show?
for non-sec.
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
Let's see. What's this? Oh no, that says that I have a new subscriber.
Woohoo!
Oh shit! Nadine was messaging me on Twitter, and I didn't even know.
Ugh. That's what happens whenever you get to streaming.
Yep.
There's times that I don't even keep up with the chat, and then I'll look and someone's like, "Hey, so and so asked you a question." I'm like, "Oh, they did? What was it?"
She's asking me if I had sent the link to watch this to Dawn, but I didn't. What the hell's going on in the background there, man?
Oh, nothing. I'm just sad about Don because I don't know what's going on, and he's my friend, and
I know.
I hate seeing my friends fight. It's like watching your parents fight almost, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's you know, and it's one of those things where I can understand why Don's upset.
I totally understand why he's upset.
And
All
I
the
can
stuff he's done for
understand.
the community.
Yeah,
you know?
and I can understand people worrying about him.
Yeah, but they're going about it the wrong way, in my opinion, my personal opinion.
Right.
I personally am staying out of it because
Yeah, I am too.
I
But he's my friend, so I'm just worried. I just don't see, you know.
I made one post today that went along the lines of what's been going on. I've said that I'm staying out of it because if I want drama, I'll start a fight with my fiance.
All right, I don't know enough about what the story is to weigh in one way or another. It just don't seem like Don the things he's accused of.
I know quite a bit of it, but as I said, and this has all been what's been going on Twitter. But like I said,
Sure.
I'm staying out of it because
Yeah,
it
me
doesn't
too.
pertain to me.
Yep.
It doesn't pertain to me, and since it does not pertain to me, I'm not going to throw my hat in that ring.
Fair enough. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm keeping out of it too. It just hurts me that I mean, he's a good friend. It sucks to see my friends fighting. It's pretty much what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm. And another reason why I'm staying out of it is because I'm not one to spread the gossip. Regardless if I just bring forth the facts of what's been going on, it can still be classified as gossip. And I'm not someone who does that. I mainly, a lot of people in my family do.
Yeah, I don't want it to be that way either. Because what we say could be misconstrued as something else. You know what I mean?
It's not even if it gets misconstrued.
Yes.
It's not even if it gets misconstrued because I can give a fuck less what other people think about what I've just said. I would sit there and, be like, I'm sorry that you took it that way, but that's not what happened at all. And I'm not going to sit there and defend myself against you misconstruing what I said. So I really don't care what people think about what I say.
Well,
I do, and part of that is because I do take care on what I say. And
yeah,
if I do mess up, I will retract what I just said and clarify what I was meaning.
Well, you know what? All we should really do, I think, is just, wish Don well. He'll sort out his issues and he'll be back in no time. I'll guarantee you. There is stuff going on that's outside of the whole YouTube Twitterverse as well. There's personal shit going on. So he has to deal with it. We'll be here for support if he needs it, and he knows that.
Yep, that's exactly what I told him. I told him I love you regardless, buddy. I said I'm here if you need me. Don't be afraid to ask.
We can sort out all the misunderstandings and mishaps later on.
Right. Right, exactly. Good point, sir. Good point.
Let's let him get himself sorted out first. Let's let him de-scramble the brain, and then he'll come back.
Yeah. Well, like you said, he's got enough personal shit in real life going on to worry about internet bullshit,
Exactly. Internet is so secondary when it comes to issues that are pressing in your life, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Internet drama can always take a back burner.
The people who actually were actually watching the stream I did last week, I actually had to step away because I was going through some personal stuff at that point in time. And
that's right. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Stuff that I will not go over because that's stuff that is for me.
Yes,
it's none of our business.
Exactly.
It's none of our business unless you choose to make it our business.
Yes.
Exactly.
And because just kind of like Iowan is, I'm a very personal person. I keep my personal stuff to myself.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point to where I could be at a low in my depression and nobody will know it because I don't broadcast it.
Right.
I was at a low at one point when I worked at Walmart, and I was quiet, and people, because I'm normally a talkative person, people picked up on this. Yeah, no, not me. But people picked up on this, and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not." I was like, "My world is crashing down around me, and all I can do is sit here and smile."
Yeah.
And I didn't go in any further because
been there too.
That is my shit.
Yeah, it's. I mean, these are people that you know from work or friends or whatever, and you know that if they have something that's worth offering, you'll come to them and they'll offer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I just keep my shit to myself, and I stay out of other people's shit. And if they want to tell me about it, I'll listen, and I will keep that stuff between me and them. But other than that, I really don't care. If you were like, "Oh, did you hear about so-and-so?" I'm like, "No." "Oh, well, they did this." "Okay, that's nice."
Don't care.
Yeah. Well, they'll come and tell me if it's worthwhile, right? I don't need to hear it from a second or possibly even fucking third-party voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm too old to play the telephone game.
That's right. Yeah, it's always broken,
And if it's not that important that they don't come to me to tell me about it, then...
Artie! Oh, jeez.
Is that the Artemis?
Yeah, Artemis.
Hang on, let me cool this down. Woo.
All right there, buddy.
Hey, Artie.
Caught me in the middle of my nightly exercise.
Your nightly exercise. Oh, air drumming is exercise now?
Oh no, I got a foot pedal and everything, man. I got this whole worked out.
Oh, sweet.
Well, it's just a floor, but I'm on a crawl space and I have wood floors, so I can.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It sounds almost like a kick drum for fuck's sake.
Oh, right. If I just had a hi-hat, I kept hitting Shorty, but then she ran out of the room. Hi, Molly. I haven't seen you in a long time, man.
I know how you been, bud.
I don't know, Flummy.
Oh,
You know, that really needed to hear from you. As long as none of it comes flying out onto your camera, I'm good.
right.
Well, I'll try. I mean,
He say he's not gonna make any promises, but
yeah. No, I'm not going to go so far as to.
Yeah,
no. I'm not going to guarantee that my body is incapable of a thing that I'm not.
I was a nurse.
Don't fart. Fuck you. I can't control that.
I was a nurse
I know.
for 18 years. Puke doesn't bother me. Poop doesn't bother me. But something about sputum, oh my god. Yeah.
Oh, look at you using the actual medical terms.
Yeah. Sputum.
Sputum.
Wait a
I
minute.
have no idea what the fuck that is. So
Well, I think
I'm just gonna smile and nod. But you can't.
anything that is ejected from the body at speed, I think qualifies as
No.
speed.
Sputum is like thick phlegm. It's phlegm.
Yeah, phlegm and mucus and snot. And,
Does it have to be?
no, but it's not one particular thing, but it generally comes out of the face.
Yeah. It's the overall term for it.
Yeah. I don't know if IGAC counts, but
Depends on how fast you shoot it away from your face, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
Yeah. Is that flotsam or jetsam?
Yeah, right.
Where
Yeah,
did
whatever it was, it went up my left nostril.
Where did it land? Is it in water? Is it still in the air?
Oh, could we be any more disgusting? Sorry, folks. I know this was supposed to be a nice, pleasant deconversion story video, and it's turned into something hellishly sputum.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned about the goose thing. What's going on behind your goose now, buddy?
Yeah.
He's got
so,
fucking huge biceps.
No,
oh
behind.
my god, look at my biceps.
Oh,
It looks like you're being chased in one of the worst scenes of fuck was that movie? Tornado movie. Twister. Looks like
Twister.
CGI scenes in Twister.
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay.
Well, no.
Um,
How would you else describe the thing that's going on behind your was that your right?
I think it's a bush or a tree that's just in blur mode.
yeah, it's probably a bush or tree in blur mode.
Oh.
Or somebody's firing heavy
So-
artillery at that goose, and he's got really bad aim.
Hey, yeah, Neil, that was nice of you to throw him some cover like that. That's a good friend.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this for those who don't actually follow me on Twitter and whatnot, which Artie, you have no excuse because I believe you do.
No,
But
I have commented about the duck goose thing already on
Yeah.
Twitter.
yeah, well, the way this started was out of nowhere, Secular decides that he says, I don't know if this is true or not, but I hear Frustrated Atheist is actually a goose. The truth is out. And so I was like, okay. And so then on Twitter, I am the Frustrated Goose, and he is.
Unfamiliar. Go to Twitter and have a gander.
Yeah,
There you
oh,
go.
foul!
God, all these bird jokes are really rustling my feathers here.
Actually, the foul one was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That was.
It was really good.
Well, you know,
I mean, it was obvious.
we are.
It was obvious
old
rehearsed
geeks.
because I saw. It was obviously rehearsed.
I just know when to throw that out. That's all.
Your time.
Timing was
Timing is everything.
impeccable.
I'll be right back. I'm going to grab some water because I'm literally in between the path of like 17 fans, and I'm now starting to be dehydrated because of the air.
See,
I'll be right back.
Tornado reference.
Yeah, there you go. I got my own twister happening.
I'm fairly certain if you just remove the do-rag, it'd be a lot cooler. You might be able to cut it down to like 15 fans.
Hey, give him some credit. He can cut it down to 16.
Okay, look, I'm not trying to give the man more credit than he's due. Is that a llama in the background? What's the black sheepish looking thing? Does anybody know? Quick, before he gets back.
I don't know. I can't. Hold on. Let me see. I think that's just his desk and chair or something. There's a cat on top of it, though.
No, that's not a cat. It's not moving. It's that's what I think it's unholy shit, dude.
What? What?
What's going on behind you?
No, that's my chair.
Wait. No, but
Come here, you.
no, we can't. It's a lovely cat. That's not what we're saying.
Get your own chair, buddy.
Oh, it does look more like a cat now that I've seen one.
Yeah, I got a little furry.
No, the thing directly behind you at about the heathen level.
Oh,
Like arm's length right behind you.
oh, that guy?
Yeah, the black thing.
Yeah, that's Max. That's my room. These are both my roommate's cats. So
Max is an actual cat.
yeah, Max is a cat. Yes. I don't know if he's a Maxwell cat, but he's just a cat. He's an asshole, really. But
It looks as much. Actually, it looks less a cat than Carl looks a giraffe.
well, I can I'll move him for you.
Oh, I wish you would. That would solve. This is like a UFO sighting. I have to have this solved before my eyes.
Hey, asshole!
No, you've gone past it. No, the thing this closer to us about half the distance. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like fuck you.
Okay, that does. Okay. All right.
There.
So the thing that I was
That's
saying
Max.
wasn't that what I was saying was
Like,
not
what the hell's going on, man?
and not a
Yeah.
cat.
Right. I quit bugging you.
Poor cat. I'm sorry, kitty. Hi, kitty.
You know, the one good thing about this place being the height that I am, I've got 12-foot ceilings, which is fucking fantastic. So I never have to worry about hitting my head.
Or the ceiling, for that matter.
Well, yeah, with my head. Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Now you're picking up what I put down.
Oh no, I just got a live notification for the non sequitur show. So apparently they're happening now too.
Oh man, I'm just gonna have to go.
What happened there?
I was gonna distract myself there for a second, but
Frustrated just turned off his mic and something's going on there. You see his picture there? The hell is that? What is that?
what in the name of all that's holy is going on?
The hell's he doing? What are you doing? He's getting in. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, it's looking a little point of view there for a second.
Yeah, both of them have shut off their microphones. Are you guys talking to each other secretly?
Yeah, seriously. Not that we would be paranoid.
No.
No, I was not talking to anyone except for my friend who actually happens to be my supervisor.
You're muscular duck.
And then my tablet decided I wanted to take a little airborne trip to the floorboard of the truck, so it must have at some point hit the camera button as well.
Oh, shit. That's what we were looking at, the
Yeah.
inside of your truck? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else got a camera button that big?
Camera button? What camera button?
Hit the camera button. And that frustrated, isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It turned my camera button on.
Yeah, see? I don't know how big your camera buttons are, but
Well, since this is on a tablet, it's pretty decent size.
so it's like pepperoni slice.
Oh, you know it, big boy.
I like the big salami slice.
Yeah, mine are much
big
more like
bologna slice.
mine are much more like grain of sand. But you know, you do you.
And this is, and you already
You
into
do
your stream,
you.
and this is why it's gone to shit.
You do you, he says. Isn't that what they call masturbation?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sex with
that's what
someone
I've
you
heard.
love?
Thing I know I'm the best at.
Yeah, it's sex with someone you love, right?
All about
Oh,
banging the
Lord.
boss and getting the days off that you want.
Hey, Artie, you're a git wizard? I didn't know that.
I'm a who?
A git wizard.
You're a git wizard.
How did I do that?
That's one of them English curse word or insults that Seth
Does
Anderson's
this
talking
have
about.
something to do with my age or something?
Oh, I don't
Kind of
know.
like is it like when people say from Old English, bite my thumb?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one myself.
Well, bite my thumb pretty much means is pretty much like flipping someone off. So if you bite your thumb at someone,
Oh, this one?
yeah, they say I bite my thumb at you, and then they just kind of flick it off their top teeth towards
Oh,
the
yeah,
person, and that's pretty much like go fuck yourself, buddy.
Yeah. There's all kinds of expressions like that. You know, you got the Italian, this thing here, and then
I actually just
and then there's
I just learned what the rule of thumb means. The rule of
Oh,
thumb.
about beating your wife with a stick size of your thumb, you mean?
No, it's how you measure the coarseness or what's the opposite of coarseness? Well, the
smoothness.
yeah,
Really?
whatever of flour coming out of a mill is the rule of
Oh,
thumb.
Really?
wow.
You rub it against your thumb, and if it's gritty, you might, and they got the cash, you might want to tighten the screws up a bit. Otherwise, they get what they pay for. That's the rule of thumb. I didn't fucking know. It's a medieval thing.
I
I didn't
didn't
either. Pretty
I
cool.
mean, I'd heard of the rule of thumb where you could beat your wife with a stick no bigger than the size of your thumb, but I never heard of the other one.
I thought that was just a story about Jewish men compensating for the size of their cocks
That could be too. I don't know.
or the breadth of their thumbs. That's the thing nobody that I know of has ever studied is how wide are the thumbs of Jews? Are they wider than,
You mean breath as in BREADGH, right? Breath.
yeah, breadth.
Yeah. Okay.
As in the width.
Yeah. Girth. The girth. Of your
Yeah,
thumb.
no, I've heard the rule of thumb also being about the beating your wife with a stick that's no wider than your thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what it is. Wider than your thumb. Right?
Yeah. As long as it wasn't as wide as your thumb, you were okay to beat her with it.
Nothing
That's
about
why.
nothing
That
about
is a thing that actually happened.
nothing about the length of your thumb.
No, not the length,
No,
just
it
the
can be as
width.
long as you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she said. I mean,
Oh, so
I can't believe I just said that. That one is so overused.
yeah, that is so homo.
I
Well,
wonder if you can use nunchucks as long as they're only the size of your thumb.
I have nunchucks, but I don't know where the fuck I put them.
You have none.
I made them myself. So.
You have none.
Nunchucks.
Nunchucks.
Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
And now this.
Where are you going with this? Art?
So she's a goer. That what you say? Wink, 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 wink. That's
I'm.
the goer. She's a goer. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on here. This
Oh,
sounds
that's
like
a classic
bunch of-
one.
It's because you've missed too many Monty Python episodes.
Yeah. Oh shit! Now I want beer. I'm all out of beer. I forgot to pick some up on my way home.
Uh-oh.
I know.
What
I
time did they stop selling beer in your town? Midnight?
Around here, yeah, probably somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Actually, I think our local place here actually closes at 11. One of them closes at 11. The other one closes at midnight. But you can go to pubs and bars and buy off sales till like 2 or 3 in the morning. So
Same way here, but you end up paying like $1.50, $2 a can.
yeah, but more.
Yeah.
Than normal.
Yeah,
like if I pay whatever it is I pay for a 6-pack or a 15-pack or whatever, I'll be adding on another $5-6 easy.
Yeah,
Well, the beer I like
What
Well, the
kind
beer
of
I
beer?
like is it's called Shiner Bock, and it's like $10 a 6-pack.
I've heard of Shiner Bock before.
Not bad, not bad. That's U.S. cash too, right?
I don't just like the taste.
Yes.
Just it's really, really carbonated.
Mm.
But Shiner,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. But it really, really is good.
Hmm.
If I'm not drinking that, then just because I like it, I drink Bud Light.
Let me just double check something here. I'm just going to put out a little heads up here. I'll post it also on my Twitter as well. But on Saturday, I'll be doing a deconversion story with Nacha Witness as well. So,
Oh, that'll be fun.
yeah.
Especially if he shows up as a little girl.
Well, the thing is it's going to be a short one because he doesn't exist. So if you don't exist, you can't really have an actual deconversion story. So, I mean, these are just simple facts.
No, I thought it was just Australia that didn't exist.
Well, yes, because he is Australian,
Well, no,
he therefore then does not exist.
no, he exists. He's just an actor.
Yeah, he's just pretending to be Australian.
Well, then if he's pretending, then how do you know he's even actually an atheist?
Actually, a people?
That is a good question. Someone will ask that question and think that's a good question, and someone else will go, that is a good question, and they'll both be wrong.
Oh, that's why Nadine can't.
God
come
damn
in.
it.
For a minute, I thought you would.
All right, so let me double check here. Saturday. Oh, I hate it when it jumps all over the fucking place.
It was the 4th of July. People walking, people talking, a man selling ice cream.
Do, 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 do.
Singing Italian songs. That's when Chicago was still really fucking good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
well,
They were awesome right before the plane crash.
yeah. Okay.
The only thing I
what
know
did we
about
decide?
Chicago is Sweet Home Chicago.
Yeah, that's
Sweet Home Chicago. Huh?
the old blues song.
You know the
Oh!
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
Yeah, I was immediately thinking of Sweet Home Alabama for some reason.
Yeah, but that one's
Sweet Home Chicago.
that one's a lot slower and has more quarter notes in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lord.
I got to get a proper microphone and stream one of our jam sessions again. Because the last one was absolutely fucking horrible.
Oh, can't we just get together and do a drum circle?
If you want, sure.
It's kind of a meet in the middle thing. So I'll head to Minnesota.
Saturday at 6. That's what we decided on. Okay. So there you go, folks. Saturday, 6 o'clock Pacific, which is 8 Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, I think. And 11 o'clock in the morning, Sunday, Nacha time.
Because he can't be bothered to get up before that.
I know he really likes living in the future too.
Yeah, Dave's the same fucking way. Hey, can we hook something up for, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock your time? Dude, I work all week. Well, no, dude, you own the company. You don't really fucking work that hard. I've actually watched you while you work for like 2 hours. It's not that fucking hard.
Let me put a little note out here on Twitter that people can come and hang out with us if they want.
On the Twitter.
On the Twitter. That's what I said in my intro video.
Yeah.
Did I just fucking say tweeter?
I use that like inner tubes or interwebs. Get that shit out there on the interwebs. In the YouTubes. Whatever the kids are using these days. Okay, did something just eat all?
Yeah. I was swallowed alive.
You were swallowed alive? Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Would you like to write a book of the Bible?
Yeah. How many books are there? 66. There could use an extra 67th one. I know it.
Well,
I just know it.
that depends on which books because there have been many that were in and then taken out.
Yeah.
And then there were books that were out that were put in, and
as long as we're on a theme, including numbers, no one has yet to fully delineate
42
the meaning of 25 or 6 to 4.
The meaning of life, 42.
5 or 6 to 4.
Seriously,
I used to know this, and I can't fucking remember.
I've heard a bunch of them, and they're all so different that none of them can be discounted.
Oh.
I guess it's whatever version you want to go with, right?
What are you talking about?
The song 25 or 6 to 4.
I'll go 25 or 6 to 4. The meaning behind it. I guess we could Google it.
We could talk about that.
Somebody get on that shit. I got to run. I'll be right back. I'm just going to run into the other room for a second.
He's got a winky. Oh. I'll see what Wikipedia has to say about 25 or 6 to 4. All right, let's see what we get.
Jen with one in says they were recording, and someone asked the time. He said it's 25 or 26 to 4 a.m.
Hi, Jen.
Yeah, I was just going to say hi.
Jen
showed up.
Cat Atheist says link.
Tad Atheist wants a link
Who?
in, so that way.
Yeah,
Tad Atheist.
but even that's just the first line because it,
Oh, shit. Tatted wants in. Okay.
Are we talking about link, the one that says peaches, or do you want a link for the
Peaches.
screen? You know,
That's a different
Zelda
song.
link. Zelda link.
Oh, you mean Princess Peaches or whatever the fuck?
Yeah.
Peach is from Mario, not Link.
Oh,
I
is
thought you were
it? Well,
talking
Link,
about the president
Link
of the
is
United
from
States.
Zelda.
millions of peaches.
yeah, that's what I said. Link was from Zelda.
Yeah,
Peach.
Link was from
Oh,
Zelda.
what was-
Peach was
what
from
was it?
Mario.
What was the princess's name on Zelda then?
Zelda.
Oh, her name was Zelda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Your character, the little boy, or the full grown man, if you're playing what was it? If you're playing Ocarina of Time, it was known as Link. That is that character's name. Is
I
Link.
know that. I didn't realize Zelda was named as the princess though.
Yeah. So,
Anyway,
and a lot of people think that Link is the name of the main character for some freaking reason.
It's just
But
wrong. Nerds.
yep, that's it. They're like, yeah, I love playing as Zelda. You know, if only they would say something along the lines of I don't know, something about a girl or something like that. And it's like, I don't remember how it normally goes, but because it's just so stupid, I just kind of block it out.
For me,
But I'm like, do you really?
Sorry that I never had any interest in it ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, oh my god, this is retarded. But yeah.
Please me.
Zelda's timeline itself is kind of messed up.
yeah.
You me.
All right, I sent Tad a link, so.
Five or six,
Reese says we're uncultured swine.
Well, what's funny is because
I
Jim
like
with
to
one
think
hand
of
said
us.
that.
I think we're cultured swine myself.
Jim with one end says that her son heard us talking about Zelda, is now rambling on about Zelda.
Oh. Jen, you want to join us? Or
Jim with one end, does he think of it as the best game ever? Because if so, then you've raised him right.
Jen, take my spot. I'm gonna bug out of this because I literally have no idea what these guys are. Dude, it's so awesome to talk to you guys.
all right, man. Peace. Thanks for joining us for a bit, man.
So cool to talk to you guys. Love you so much. Take care.
All right.
Be safe.
You too, man.
Happy
All right,
Star
Artie, you take care.
Bye, Artie.
Orange.
You muscly, beautiful sons of bitches. You.
Oh yeah, try to be, as big as I can be.
I don't know. I wasn't. Just so you know, Jen, I wasn't saying come in. What I was saying was that if your son was saying that he thinks that Zelda is one of the best games ever, then you've raised him right.
Fair enough.
No worries, Jen. No worries. It's okay.
Zelda is one of the coolest games ever. What's your favorite Zelda game, Russ?
I would have to probably say Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I do love
The
me
64.
Link
the
to the
64
Past.
one.
Yes, but I do love Link to the Past only because it was the original game and it was that I played, and it was amazing as a child whenever I was playing it.
The fuck is beeping?
What the fuck is what?
Beeping.
Oh, that's the truck.
Yeah, I heard that too. Someone put their seatbelt on.
No, it's the truck. There's something that's messed up that I have to fix in it, and that's why it's beeping.
Fallout's the greatest game series ever, Reese. My favorite book series ever has got to be the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Have any of you guys read that?
I have one, but I don't know where it's at.
Oh, it's awesome. It's about a modern day wizard in Chicago. It's fucking excellent story. Excellent.
Oh, wait a second.
If you guys are readers, that is.
Wait, Dawn was listening to the. Really? Wow, I thought. Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
Nadine was saying that Dawn was listening to the interview.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. Russ's Kadar is beeping.
Yeah. Race, you must be really, really close to me if it's beeping.
Whoa. Yeah, Nadine was saying that I guess he was listening in or something, so.
That's good.
Well, Dawn, if you are listening or still watching,
you still have your brother.
You got lots of people behind you, man. So we're all here for you. It's just keep that in mind. I don't even know if you're watching or listening anymore, but many of us here have got you back, okay? Just keep that in mind. Right? I believe this whole thing, well, the online shit can be handled at some point. Deal with the shit you got to deal with that's in real life at home before you even worry about the other stuff. Okay, that's really fucking loud, whatever that is. But we'll be here.
Loud.
Mole, where the hell are you, anyways?
I'm at my house.
Well, what the hell's going on in the background?
Oh, it is soon to be over. Don't mind me. There, it's over. My old lady was watching something. I had to really cry, but it's over now. It was
All
actually a really decent movie. It's called A Day of Wine and Roses. It's a 1958 teleplay about Alcoholics Anonymous, and it is the closest I've came to see them show how Alcoholics Anonymous really is compared to most movies, because they glamorize it in movies more or less usually, but this, they did a really good job of making it realistic.
Wow, interesting. I'll have to check it out. I've never even heard of it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like if it doesn't have like the word monster or star or alien in it, I usually don't watch it.
Right.
or wizard or dragon. It's got to have those shit in it too. Right?
No, but if you like to,
Hold on, guys.
Oh, sorry, bro.
Before we continue, I want to say this real quick to the chat, because both Reese and Jim with one N has asked what's going on. And this is the only thing that I'm going to say on the matter, because I'm not getting dragged into any of this. I'm not going to have anyone say that I'm doing anything to propagate one side of this entire thing. But something's happened in not only Don's personal life, but with other really close friends within the YouTubeverse, and that's what I'm going to leave it at. I'm not going into details. If you want to go into details, there is a way to find it through the Twitterverse.
It's all over the verse.
I'm personally not going to repeat anything that's gone on.
Yeah, we shouldn't really. It's not up to us to do that. It's entirely up to Don to spill what he wants to whoever he wants, right? But he does have some personal issues in his hometown here, dealing with some family issues. So that's preoccupying his mind the most at the moment.
And it's not making the internet shit any easier. Let's put it that way.
That was just kind of like pouring a little salt on the wound that already existed.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, pretty much as a rule.
But I will let you know, because I've spoken to him. He's doing all right. He's in a little bit better headspace, but he's got some stuff that he has to deal with, and he's got to do it soon. But he'll be back. He did say he will be back. Okay.
He told me he's doing okay.
He said to send his love to everyone too.
Yep, he's doing okay. He's got some real life shit to take care of, and the rest of the stuff.
But we're not at liberty to divulge that information. Yeah. That is his personal shit, and
but if
he wants to tell you, he'll tell you.
But he is doing okay and thinking about all of you.
Yes. Yeah. I can get a little animated, as you've noticed as well. So.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm a puppet, like a marionette without strings or something. What's that fucking TV show? Thunderbirds. Go! Man, I used to love those shows when I was a kid, because they were around when I was actually a kid. The Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, and what the fuck was the other one? There was another one. Fuck, I can't remember. Anyways, it was all the Marionette-vision. Is what they used to call it.
You're a late 70s child, right?
I was born in 66, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, so late 70s child, yeah.
Yeah, we had Micronauts and shitty Lego before the little movable people came out. But when they did came out, I fucking bought the shit anyways, even in my late teens and 20s.
I'm a nerd. Too. I still do it.
Well, you see, I've been very big. Since I was about 4 years old, I've been a Batman fan, and yeah. So
I got to show you something really cool.
Oh, okay. But so whenever I got to be in my teens and whatnot, and we had no cable, we just had regular TV. I would watch Teen Titans when it came on. I don't know what it's CW now, but at the time it was the 39 WB, and they would come on in the afternoons, and I would watch Teen Titans, and then they ended, and I was so mad that they ended the series because I loved it, and then they came out with that abomination that's known as Teen Titans Go.
It's absolute shit.
Yes. And so Then apparently Teen Titans Go had a movie where it was called Teen Titans Go to the Movies. And at the end, they did this little, they did the credits for a bit, and then all of a sudden the screen just kind of glitches out for a bit, and it's like, can you hear us? Can you hear me? And it's like, hurry, we don't have much time, from Starfire. And then you hear Raven saying, we have to let them know that we're still here. And then all of a sudden you hear Cyborg saying, and we're online. And it's the original drawings from the original Teen Titans saying, everyone listen, we think we found a way back. And then it cuts out. And I was like, oh my God. They're coming out with the season 6 of Teen Titans. What is this?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover with Batman.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
That's issue 1, 2.
Oh my God,
3,
you lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah.
4.
And it's oh my God. So the first few are they in black and white like the Turtles comics were?
And issue number 6.
Only
Yes.
real hero.
And by the way, I had those when they originally came out.
You did the original Turtles?
Yep, I had them mailed to me when I lived in Israel.
Well, hey, Jeff, I'm gonna get out of here so I can eat some supper, but I will. You gonna be around for a while?
I have to take off actually close to 6, so we'll probly be on here for another 15, 20 or so.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Good night, Mo.
Good night, Bo.
Thanks for joining in too, man.
Anytime.
Thanks for joining in.
All right, so maybe Saturday if you're around. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, but so the for those who don't know, the comics of the Ninja Turtles were nothing like the animated series from the 70s, 80s or 80s on into the 90s. The actual comic series of the Turtles were dark as hell.
Yes,
they didn't,
were.
as far as I know as well, they were not so gung-ho about pizza as they are in the cartoons and in the movies.
No.
That
came later.
Yeah, that came way later. And there's a lot of stuff that
Casey Jones was a fucking psychopath in the originals.
Yes,
like a real psychopath.
Yes. There's so much that's different from the original Turtles to what they adapted to be a child's show.
Well, they had to.
Of course. Because this was, I'm just glad that they didn't come out with the Ninja Turtles during the what I like to call the dark ages of comics, whenever everything was so comic-y and funny because children, this is children's stuff, so we have to make it lighter. I was like, no, most comic book characters are freaking dark as hell. Even Marvel, who is known as being the lighter comic series, has dark characters like Tony Stark, for instance. He was a raging alcoholic.
Or the original Ant-Man and Wasp, right? The original Ant-Man and Wasp. He was a wife beater.
Yeah.
Hank Pym was a fucking wife beater.
And then you have the Incredible Hulk, who Bruce Banner, as a child, watched his father beat the living shit out of his mother and then kill her and take his own life. I mean, this is dark shit, and we're having to... The comics had to cover this up because we have to, make things lighter for people because this is, this isn't suitable for children and whatnot. And it's like, that's not the point of the comics. That's not what... The comics weren't supposed to be funny like what you find in the newspaper.
You want funny, pick up an Archie comic, right?
Exactly. Pick up Archie. Pick up freaking... If you want to go to the spinoff with Jughead. Or hell, pick up Garfield. Freaking The Family Circus. Pick up those. If you want stories that are more realistic to what life could be like, even though there are superheroes, you go to DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, any one of those. Image. You can go to any of these and just read them, and they're fantastic stories.
Dark Horse has some really good titles, actually.
Yes. And I mean, hell, if you take, for instance, I'll take Batman. Batman is one of my favorites, and this is a freaking dark comic. I mean, he himself, he does this stuff, and knowing that he pushes himself closer to the edge of insanity every time he dons the cowl, and he still does it because he's doing what he knows is helping people, even though he breaks the law to do it. And he does all these different, he breaks bones and he causes so much pain, but he knows it's a necessity in his area. And so he is doing this stuff and he is completely, struggling with not wanting to kill, say, the Joker. And the Joker gives him plenty of opportunities to. And then there's the Injustice.
Reason to.
Yes. And then there was the Injustice series. I don't know how canon it is to the actual main timeline or storyline of Batman, but you have the Injustice series where he finally does kill the Joker. Because what happens is the Joker was pretty much kidnapped a pregnant Lois Lane, and so the entire Justice League is going after the Joker, and then Superman tries to really wants to beat the living shit out of the Joker, but Batman says, no, you go take care of Lois, sends everyone else out to do everything else, and he's taking the Joker to the Gotham City Police Department. Well, on the way there, he's completely quiet and silent as the Joker keeps talking, saying how he wants to play more with his friends, and he wants to see them more often, type of things. And so whenever he pulls up to the GCPD, he snaps the Joker's neck, gets out of the Batmobile, takes off the cowl, and says, I would like to report a crime. And when Superman goes to visit him in jail, he tells him, why did you do this? He's like, he wasn't going to stop. He was going to keep going, and he was going to go after you, Lois, and the baby. And I could not let that happen. And so Superman, knowing that there's armed guards there, what he does is he hangs up the phone, crashes through the divider with the guns pointed at him, and he hugs Bruce. And he pretty much tells him something along the lines of, be careful. And he's like, you got to remember, they're locked in here with me. So
yeah, which was stolen right from The Watchmen, by the way.
Oh God, yes. Which I gotta say, that is my favorite part in The Watchmen. He goes, where he says, "You're forgetting one major thing." He goes, "I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me." And after he's done and killed someone, it was like, yes, that is amazing.
That
See you
was
later,
a
Reese.
fucking phenomenal a graphic novel too. I don't know if you ever read
God,
it.
I'd never read the graphic novel, but just watching the movie, I know from a lot of people who have read the graphic novel, they said that the movie did the graphic novel injustice, but just watching the movie alone was fucking amazing.
Okay, I got the graphic novel. I knew one of my friends owned a comic store back then. And the day it came out, he's like, "Oh, this is new." And I'm like, "Oh, let me check it out." And I loved the cover right away because all it was the smiley face with the blood drip.
Oh, yes.
So I'm like, "Fuck, I'll buy it." And I took it home that night and I just loved it, right? And when the movie came out, I liked it. I'm not as critical as a lot of these hardcore fans. So I thought they did a decent telling on a screen of what was in the novel itself. They missed a couple of things, but I thought it was well put together. A lot like Sin City, which was also from the comic, which I also got back in the day. I thought that was actually really good. Sin City, I believe, is a Dark Horse.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But Dark Horse is old now. They've been around fucking forever.
God, yes. I mean, hell, even as a kid, whenever you know Marvel and DC the most, because that's the ones that make the most,
Oh shit! I collected everything.
Most mainstream. Well, they're the ones that have the most mainstream characters. But then, even as a kid, I knew Dark Horse, and I don't know, I might have read like maybe one or two comics from them, but I knew of them, but I didn't really know which characters they had and which whatnot. But I watched Sin City and I absolutely loved them. both movies, really. A lot
Yeah.
of people didn't like the second one. But to be
It was
honest,
okay.
I liked it too.
It was okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still decent enough to be able to watch.
Hmm. I
And
just, you know what? Anything by Frank Miller, I really like.
oh my God, Frank Miller.
Like the Ronin series, which they have yet to do something with. The
Man,
Ronin,
they
you ever
should.
seen Ronin? Or watch,
Ronin,
Ronin was a comic series.
Yeah. No,
By
I
him.
don't think I read those.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. If you find them, pick it up, man.
I will. I really wish I had your Batman and TMNT crossover. Those are pretty good. That's damn good.
I'll tell you what, man. Send me your address, and I
Mhm.
could ship this shit out to you.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Really?
I've read them. It's a great story. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm done with them. I don't really collect them anymore, so you can be the next owner of them if you like.
All right, I'll definitely send you a message with my address.
Sure, and they're in the bags with the backings and the bag and everything, so
Nice.
they're all well protected.
I have two of them. Neither one are original. They're all remakes. But for Batman, I have like 3 or 4 of them. 2 of them are some of the lesser known comics, and they're not in the best shape. But the 2 that I have are the actual books, and they are the Killing Joke, which is my favorite Joker background story, and the Hush series, where Batman actually gives the reason why he would win in a fight against Superman.
Well,
And
given
if you're
enough
not
prep
familiar,
time, Batman can beat anybody.
no. Well, but the thing is Batman sits there and lays it out very simply. He says, yes, if Clark wanted to, he could use his super speed to squish me into the pavement. However, I know how he thinks. Other than kryptonite, he has one greatest weakness, and that's deep down inside, he's a good person, whereas deep down inside, I'm not.
Right.
And that is one of the reasons why Batman will always win, because what happened right after that was Superman was under the control of Poison Ivy's kiss, and so he's trying to fight and combat with Batman. Batman
Right.
sends Catwoman off on on a mission while they're in the middle of while they're in the sewers hiding, because Superman's vision can't see through lead, and that's
Right.
what they're surrounded by. So he sends her off on a mission, and eventually Superman finds out, and they're down there. And even though Superman's throwing punches and Batman's not using anything but blocking techniques, he's still, going toe to toe with him for a minute. Until he's gotten to the point where Superman grabs him and picks him up. And right then and there, after Batman's done with his monologue, he tells Catwoman to do what he had her plan to do, and Catwoman throws Lois Lane off the top of a building. Clark snaps out of Poison Ivy's control and saves Lois Lane.
Perfect.
And that's because, like Batman said, he knows how Clark thinks. And so he's always going to do the right thing. He's always going to be the Boy Scout. So he's going to do the right thing.
Many times people have said that about Superman, that's his biggest weakness.
Yes, and it really is. Hell, during the Doom series, he was trying to stop someone from jumping off of the Daily Bugle or the
Daily
Metropolis
Planet.
News thing. Yeah, Daily Planet. I'm sorry, I'm thinking
Bugle's where Spider-Man works.
Yeah, but
That's
from the
in
Daily
the
Planet.
city over.
Yeah. But on the Daily, he was on top of the Daily Planet, and he was a Daily Planet former employee with a gun to his head, and Superman's trying to talk him out of trying to commit suicide, and then he points the gun at Superman and shoots him with a kryptonite bullet. And it's because Superman always tries to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Superman could have sat there and said, do a flip, but no, he had to make sure that this guy does, he's trying to help him. And because of his generosity and his good nature, he gets shot in the heart with a kryptonite bullet and damn near dies if Batman didn't get out from being buried alive. So
Cool.
that was another good series. It was
That one I missed.
it was pretty. Oh my god, it's so amazing. To give you, just without actually ruining anything, to give you just a brief overview, the Legion, it's the start of the Legion of Doom, and every member of the Justice League gets thrown under attack, and Batman gets buried alive. Wonder Woman is seeing multiple Cheetah, which is her greatest enemy, and she's constantly fighting. The Flash has bombs attached to his wrist that if he slows down, they will detonate. And so he has to continuously running at a very fast pace. He can't slow down whatsoever. And you have Jean-Jeans, which, as we all know, is Martian Manhunter. Having, I think it was, what is that one chemical? Magnesium in his system. And he is constantly burning. And, of course, that's his greatest weakness, is fire. And he's constantly burning. Then you have Green Lantern, who has fear pretty much in his system because of his greatest failure. And so
did they make an animation of this one?
Yes,
because it sounds really fucking familiar now.
Yes, they did have an animation of it, and in the animation version, the animated movie, it was
what's the movie
Savage.
called?
It's
Randall Savage. Yeah. Oh, I have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's actually still on this computer right here.
Nice. That is a really good series, and one of my favorite lines from that was because, since you've already seen it, spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't, all of these Justice League members who are under attack, who are not making it, all of these were plans of Batman's. These were all plans that he's had in place, the contingency files.
That's right. That's what they find out at the end, too.
Yes, because once he gets himself out of the grave, he starts telling people what to do to help all these people. I'm like, how do you know all this? He goes, because these were my plans.
Yeah, somebody got to him.
And so, it depends on the if we're going off of the movies or the comics. In the movies, it's Mirror Master. He hides in the mirrors of the Batmobile and is able to sneak into the Batcave that way. If you go off the comics, it's actually Ra's al Ghul, who is the actual mastermind behind all of this.
Right.
And so, so one of my favorite lines in there, of course, is after everything's stopped and completed, and Batman's they're trying to get Batman to say his piece, and he says, "My actions don't need defending." He's like, if you can't see why these plans are necessary, then I don't even want to be here. He's like, you don't have to vote me out. And he leaves. But that's not the best part. What the best part is whenever Superman comes up to him and he says, he's like, I'm guessing burying you alive was not your plan. And he goes, no, I can only assume that was Savage's. In this movie, he says that.
Yeah.
And so he goes, so are you so arrogant to not even have a backup plan for yourself? And this is the most defining moment in both the movie and in the comic. And in the movie, he says, I do. And it's called the Justice League. Whereas in the comic, he says, I do. And he stands next to me in red and green, which makes more sense. Because if you think about it, who is the one who trains Robin?
Yeah.
Batman.
Right.
What on earth would he train him for, besides being able to fight alongside him, but to combat him if ever need be?
Exactly. Take him down.
Exactly. So you have this entire dynamic that is amazing in both, and the line is still just rememberable in both comic and movie, that it's just blows you away when you hear it. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's amazing.
All right, my friend. I think we're going to close it off.
All right, this sounds like a plan to me.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Always.
Thanks for sharing your story with us too. And then we kind of went crazy, but that's
Yes,
okay.
we went off on a lot of different topics.
Sure, that's okay.
Mhm.
I like it when we do that because it just, then people who are interested in this stuff can sit and listen in, and if they like it, they can hang out. If they don't, they fuck off.
Right.
All right. So, yeah, we're down to one viewer anyway. So it must be bedtime or supper time or getting
Yep.
up for breakfast
And
time.
I think that one viewer is me.
Or me, because I had it on there too. So that might have been the two of us have been talking to each other for a while and watching
Right.
us talk to each other.
Right.
Now, does that constitute as talking to yourself? Or? No, I don't.
Something like that. But anyway, somebody will eventually come across it and watch it themselves.
Exactly. All right.
All right, buddy.
All right, Russ. Thanks a lot for
All
doing this, and we'll talk to you soon, probably Twitterverse, and then
Probably so.
check it out on Saturday. I'll be talking to Nacho Witness, and if I can slip someone in between that point, I'll try for Thursday, because tomorrow I've got my blood donor appointment. So, all right. Thanks for watching, everybody, and remember, what the fuck is going to be my catchphrase now? Oh yeah, it's called faith because it's not fucking knowledge. All right, see ya.